Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Mr. Cantor, and this is Modeling with Mr. Cantor. Now, today we're going to be looking at Explore Part C. Before we get started, please take a minute, read this question to yourself, take a look at the story, the tables, the dot plots, and look at what do you notice, think about what do you wonder, and then we'll talk about it together. So go ahead, please pause the video. All right, welcome back. Let's take a minute and read the story together. It says, in 1984, the mean age of swimmers on the U.S. women's swimming team was 18.2 years, and the MAD was 2.2 years. In 2016, the mean age of swimmers was 22.8 years, and the MAD was 3 years. Now remember, when they say MAD, they're referring to the mean absolute deviation. All right, and we're going to talk more about that momentarily. Now, some of the things you might wonder is that this dot plot is talking about 1984 and this dot plot is talking about 2016. You might wonder, what do these dots in the dot plot represent? So go ahead, please pause the video and let me know. What do you think these dots represent in this dot plot? All right, welcome back. If you said these dots represent the age of the swimmers, then you are correct. Now, we can see in 1984, there were two people whose age was between 14 and 16, which means it had to be 15 years old. We can see that we had two swimmers of age 16, one that was 17, two that were 18. We had four swimmers that were 19 years old, one swimmer that was 20, one swimmer that was 21, and one swimmer that was 23. If that was one observation you made, good job. We can see that in 2016, the age of swimmers changed a little bit, and that might be something that you have noticed. We can see that for 19 years old, we have 3 swimmers. For 20 years old, we have 3 swimmers. 21 is also 3. 22 is also 3 swimmers. Then for 23 years old, we only have 1 swimmer. And then for 24 years old, we have 2 swimmers. In 1984, we did not even have a single swimmer that was 24 years old. In 2016, we can see that we have a swimmer that's 25 years old. In fact, we have 4 of them. We also have a swimmer that's 26 years old, 29, and 30. So you can see that between 1984 and 2016, that the age of swimmers has actually changed quite a bit. So now that we've talked about some of the things that you might have noticed and wondered about, let's take a look at our question. Please take a minute, pause this video, read this question to yourself, think about it, and then we will read it together. All right, welcome back. Let's read number 1 together. It says, how has the average age of the woman on the U.S. swimming team changed from 1984 to 2016? Explain your reasoning. So go ahead, please pause the video and let me know. What do you think about this? All right, welcome back. If you said the average age of the women's swimming team has increased by 4.6 years over the past 3 decades and 18.2 to 22.8 years old, and that the swimmers representing the U.S. in 2016 are older on average than those in 1984 is correct. And we can see that from the dot plot as well. The majority of the data you can see is more to the right of the dot plot, where the numbers are increasingly larger than those on the left side. We can see in 1984, the majority of our data is on the left side of our dot plot, which means the ages of our swimmers were a lot younger. We can also look at the mean of both dot plots. The mean data for 1984 of the dot plot was 18.2 years. We can see the mean age of the swimmers for 2016 was 22.8 years. So we can see that definitely the age of the swimmers has increased. All right, with that said, let's move on to the next question. Explore Part D. So before we jump into talking about what the second question is, why don't you take a minute, read the question to yourself, pause this video, and then we will talk about it together. All right, welcome back. Number 2 reads, are the swimmers on the 1984 team closer in age to one another than the swimmers on the 2016 team are to one another? Explain your reasoning. So go ahead, please pause this video and let me know, what do you think about this? All right, welcome back. If you said in 2016, the average distance from the mean was 3 years, And in 1984, the mean absolute deviation was 2.2 years, which means that the swimmers were closer to one another in age, then you are correct. We can see this in the information they provided to us from the very, very beginning. They told us that in 1984, the swimmers for the United States swimming team, they had a mean absolute deviation of 2.2 years, which means on average, each swimmer is about 2.2 years away from the average age of the United States women's swimming team. We can also see that in 2016, the MAD, or the mean absolute deviation, was 3 years, which tells us the average age of the swimmers is about 3 years away from the mean, or from the average of all the swimmers. So we can definitely see that the ages were a lot closer when we were looking at the team from 1984, because their mean absolute deviation was smaller than that of the 2016 women's swimming team. All right, with that said, let's take a look at the next one. Explore Part E. All right, so please pause the video, read the third one to yourself, think about it, and then we will do it together. All right, welcome back. Let's read number 3 together. It says, here are dot plots showing the ages of women on the U.S. swimming team in 1984 and in 2016. Use them to make 2 other comments about how the women's swimming team has changed over the years. All right. So there's a lot of different comments that we can say in regards to the swimming team in 1984 and the swimming team in 2016. Some of the comments that you might have said were that the 2016 team was much older than the one in 1984. In 2016, about half the swimmers were 22 or younger, while in 1984, all but one swimmer was 22 or younger. And this was something that we were talking about from the very beginning, just from the things that we noticed from looking at the 2 dot plots. Another comment that you might make about the 2 dot plots is that the youngest swimmer in 2016 were 19 years and 4 years older than the youngest swimmers in 1984, which is true. We can see that in 2016, the youngest swimmer is 19 years old, but the youngest swimmer here is 15 years old. So we can see already that just by looking at their youngest swimmer, there's already a 4-year age gap. This is definitely a true statement. Another thing you might have noticed is the oldest swimmer in 2016 was 7 years older than the oldest swimmer in 1984. Let's take a look at that a little bit more closely. The oldest swimmer in 2016 was 30 years old, but the oldest swimmer in 1984 was 23 years old. So we can see that there was a 7-year gap between the oldest swimmers between 1984 and 2016. All right, with that said, we've done quite a bit of analysis of these 2 dot plots. And there are other noticings that you might make between these 2 dot plots that are also correct according to this data. With that said, my name is Mr. Cantor. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it has been helpful to you. I will see you in the next one. Take care for now.